Good evening. Welcome to VHS Film Club. We've had a bit of a rough time of it, as you can see, but we're here for you. Um, my name is Guy Gardner, and I'd like to introduce you to my friend Alan Meredith, who is a wolf. He's right there. It looks absolutely brilliant.
That foolproof plan fell apart because I couldn't hear anything you were saying, so I had to just wait till I thought you'd finished introducing. Did
Yeah,
did you manage to get an introduction?
I did. Yeah, yeah. I think we're good. I think it was seamless.
I think it was seamless. I think yeah, I think yeah, probably it's been a full moon night. Some clouds have come over. I've gone through I've untransformed from a werewolf. Obviously, that was you know
Yeah.
you could see the special effects there in terms of my face returning back to its normal.
It was incredible. It was like watching American Werewolf in London. Actually, it was pretty
Oh,
scary.
oh, we could win an Oscar then. Didn't that win an
Yeah,
Oscar?
it's possible.
The special effects. I think it did.
Oh yeah, no,
But
it did. Yeah, 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 yeah.
okay. Oh, cool, cool. But obviously, yeah. Thank you for introducing the show. I had some technical problems being, a lycanthrope. They're not the most communicative. So,
Mm,
so thank you very much for doing that while I was in my change state.
no problem.
And obviously, we're back again. Um, Book sales rocketed from episode one, which obviously meant that we had the funding then for episode two. So
Yeah,
I gotta thank the fans for making this possible.
it's great. I love them. I mean, I'm in Baja. I don't know where you are, but everything's changed for me. Things have got a lot better.
Well, I think it'll be clear when I talk about my film that actually, as a writer, that's the kind of life we should be living. But
Yeah,
I've got to ask. You look fantastic.
thanks, mate.
But is it a general thing, or have you gone specifically for someone like the Terminator or something like that?
No, I just went for horrendous zombie sort of car crash, vibe. I had some problems with the eye. Well, as you can see, this is actually my good eye. Um, this one sort of came off, but I still need my glasses to kind of see and hold my prosthesis on as well,
Okay.
because the latex didn't work quite as well as planned.
Well, I gotta take my hats off to you. Like I said, I think before the video, my plans to do makeup all fell apart when I went into my daughter's bedroom to kind of raid her stash because she tends to have the really good
Yeah,
stuff, the kind of not the cheap stuff, really really good kind of theatre quality stuff. And I found she
yeah.
had nothing, so that kind of completely scuppered my plans.
I went the whole hog. It took 6 hours of makeup to get this. You know, I just have to remember to take it off tomorrow before I go to work, and possibly if I need to see the kids.
And
But
your wife, I imagine. I mean,
yeah, well,
your
she's
wife.
sort of used to me coming back like this.
I feel really underdressed now.
But
I feel like I haven't made the effort. Okay. Okay, so today I think it's my turn to go to my video shop.
yeah,
I was thinking about this, but over the time there were probably three main ones. There was one down the road that I was able to get to on my push bike, which was a regular for a bit. I think it closed down and then it was replaced by a blockbuster closer to home.
mm,
But actually, the one I'm going to go to was one a bit further afield, one I didn't generally go on my own to. I'd have to get in a car to get to. And I think it was called Aladdin's Cave. And that's
nice.
exactly what it looked like. It was a really big video shop that went really, really far back. And at the time, for me, it felt like every film ever made was available in this video shop.
Yeah,
So you could get anything. So I thought I'd go there in the spirit of what we do, and we sometimes go for obscure things. I think we've gone a bit more, probably not quite so obscure on this one, but maybe obscure at
no,
the time. Maybe it was a different thing. But I'm going to go to Aladdin's Cave, I think, because I think we're going to find the films we want there, rather
nice.
than going to Blockbuster and finding they've only got the latest releases and we're
Yeah,
scuppered. So that's where we're going to
awesome.
go tonight. Um, Did you get any snacks for tonight?
I did.
Well, what'd you get?
I got refreshers,
Oh,
staple 80s,
nice.
and one I haven't got as many savoury things. I've got Space Raiders,
Oh, beef
beef
again.
ones. Yeah,
Beef.
obviously beef ones.
Is
Uh,
it Sunday?
yeah, because it's Sunday. Dip dabs, so
Oh, another
to
dip dab. Okay,
take the
nice.
taste away, the beef ones, and a wham.
Oh,
So I can pull out a few of my teeth later as well. Um,
nice.
yeah. What about you? What did you get?
Yeah, I think it would add to the look if it pulled out some teeth.
Yeah,
I, um, I was thinking about this. I couldn't get everything I wanted. It made me think about. I never really had grandparents, but they existed, but I never really saw them or they weren't around too much when I was a kid. But
yeah,
I'd say who is the person who played that role in my life was my auntie Joan, who's my dad's older sister, really much older sister. You know, almost like a generation older. Like could have
yeah.
been her mum, his mum, based on age. So when if we used to go to her house to stay, she'd always get this tin out, like a biscuit tin, but she'd always be restocked with new stuff. So I got some things that I'd found in a biscuit tin. I wasn't able to find Viscounts. I wanted to find Viscounts, but I didn't
Oh, yeah.
succeed. But I did succeed in getting some
Oh,
Orange Club,
nice.
which I did sample these. They taste
Yeah,
as good as I remember.
yeah.
I
Are they
also
a bit
got.
smaller than you remember, though?
I'm bigger now, though. To be fair,
Yeah.
I mean, if I do that,
Oh
that's
no,
really
they
big.
are.
There you go.
No, they are.
There you
Yeah,
go.
they're
Made it bigger.
massive.
Um, and then I've also. I don't know if that's coming out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Got a penguin,
Nice.
and I've got the joke. Do you want to do the joke?
Yeah, go on, do the joke.
Okay. How does a penguin build its house?
I don't know.
I don't know either. It glues it together. There's your Facebook post for later, guy.
Yeah,
Right.
lovely.
And you really made me think about sherbet with
Yeah.
your dip dabs. But this was my go-to sherbet generally.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Was a
yeah, yeah.
sherbet fountain, which was silly in a way because I can't stand licorice.
No.
So my first, point of business would be to pull the licorice out
Yeah,
carefully because if you pull it too hard, then you pull all the sherbet out. So
yeah,
carefully, a bit like you're disarming a bomb,
yeah,
carefully pull it out and throw that away, and
yeah.
then eat the sherbet. Or be careful not to
Down the
have too
sherbet.
much
Yeah,
though, because sometimes you can go up the nose and puff
yeah,
out, and you end up like you said before, you end up looking like a cocaine addict. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That
those are the
probably would
things.
would be
Gone.
all right for tonight, though. I think they would just add to it, add to the whole look. It's a good
Okay.
advert for that. If I did some, it'd be a good advert for not doing drugs. Wouldn't it? This is what happens if you
Perhaps,
want to
perhaps
look
you,
like this, kids.
perhaps you can go into your son's school tomorrow and do, don't do drugs, kids.
Uncle Guy says, "Don't do drugs."
Oh, oh, brilliant. Okay. So a typical thing. Although, like I said, book sales rocketed from the last
Yeah,
episode. We spent all of the money on production,
yeah,
particularly Guy's special effects. So again, we're down
obviously.
to just one. We've only got enough money for one video,
Yeah,
so we've got to decide which one we're gonna get. Um, I'm gonna propose the film House.
yeah,
Um, Now, House is a film about a writer, and I think it's the reason I thought it was funny. It was being a writer. So apparently, writers are supposed to be married to really successful, Hollywood film actresses. Apparently,
yeah,
according to the film House. So maybe we're treading a different path, I think.
yeah, 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 yeah. We are. Yeah,
Yeah, and I kind of got that when I've been to Donna's Dark Side things. You can see everyone there with sort of celebrities you recognise on their arm and stuff like that. I recognise we're treading a
it was
different
crazy.
path.
I've never seen anything like it.
But anyway, yeah, apparently writers are supposed to be up there with rock stars and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Has
um,
that been your experience?
of being a writer, yes.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been a writer, every time I go to Darkside, for example, I go to Brighton and I smash up a hotel room
Yeah.
and then that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
definitely been my experience. Yeah, I've had so much. I've been rolling around in so much cash that I'm able to, I don't know, wipe my bum on £50 notes and
Yeah.
things like that. That's definitely the experience I've been having.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. No, me too. Um, I need a leaf blower now to just blow the money out way in the house. Otherwise, I can't get to anything. To be honest, it's a pain. People think that it's great fun being rich, but it's not. You've got all these different stresses.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I like the leaf blower thing. I can imagine your kind of greenhouse looking like the Crystal Dome as you're blowing
Yeah.
blowing blowing £50 notes around, stuffing them into your underpants. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. We digress.
yes, sorry. So yeah, so the synopsis of House. So there's a writer, Roger Cobb, very successful writer. Um, his aunt dies, who kind of raises him, and rather than sell the house, he decides to go live there, to go write his new book. Um, but it's a place of tragedy because I'm giving the whole plot away. I'm doing a proper 80s trailer.
Yeah.
A few
Yeah.
years before, his son disappears while he's at this house, presumably kidnapped. Although his aunt, before she dies, has a different theory that the house takes his son,
Yeah.
and then it kind of goes into this very much haunted house kind of film. So that's the plot. I think it was successful, unlike some of the films we picked last time, which completely bombed and virtually made no money. So this one, so actually it was released in 85, so I think we're probably knocking around, we must be knocking around the video store about 87, 88 to find this
Yeah.
one. um it cost 3 million. It made 19.
Yeah.
And also they made 4 films in total, so they obviously made some money from this to carry on doing this. Other thing I really like about this, just looking at it on the shelf, is the cover art as well. um, with this one, there is like a disembodied hand
Yeah. That's
ringing a
right.
doorbell, which I
Yeah.
think is really cool. I think it's really,
Yeah.
really cool. So on the outside it looks really cool. um, People in it. There's a guy called William Catt, who I recognise his face, but I don't know him from anything. I think he was quite famous in the US. He's the main character in it. Roger
Yeah.
Cobb, the writer. There's George Wendt from Cheers, the guy who's always sat at the end of the bar. Not John Ratzenberger,
Yeah.
the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in it as well, doing what I would call a Connery.
Right.
Sean Connery plays Sean Connery in every film he's in. I think
Yeah.
George Wendt does the same. He doesn't change in any film he's in at all. Um, and the only other person I recognised was a guy called Michael Ensign. I had to look up his name.
Yeah.
He's the estate agent, and I thought he looks
Ah. Yeah.
familiar. And
Yeah.
he is the hotel manager in Ghostbusters, where the Ghostbusters completely wreck. Where they catch their first ghost, they completely
Yeah.
wreck it.
Right.
So he's. I don't know. Did you recognise anyone in the film?
No, I didn't. I recognise William Catt. He used to be in Perry Mason. I
Oh, did
think that
he?
was quite a
Okay.
regular gig for him. Yeah, and
Okay.
he was in something called American Hero, where he was like a superhero, but sort of not a very good one. He's sort of good, but quite sort of blundery, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, and I think he was sort of best known for that, and obviously House. And there's a guy called Richard Mole, who played Big Ben,
Yeah. Yeah.
who I really liked, and I looked at him, and yeah, he was 6 foot. He's probably about 6'8". He's probably about your.
He's picked someone else bigger than you. He always
Yeah,
seem to find someone bigger than us in this.
yeah. That's sort of giant. And he spent most of his career sort of playing sort of rednecks and that kind of thing because of his size. But his first job was stacking. He worked in women's underwear department before he sort of got famous. That's my bit of trivia. So Richard Mole. But
I was expecting you to say something that made best use of his height, like he stacked
yeah,
like the top shelf at Walmart, but no, he was dealing with ladies' pants and bras.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was great. I really liked. I thought he almost stole the show a bit, actually. But I'll let you continue with that. This is your back. But
No,
yeah,
no,
that
I
was
agree. I
wicked.
think he was really good, and also I think William Catt was really good as
Yeah,
well. I think he played the comedic bit really well. In fact, I'll
yeah,
probably get to that. Actually, probably talk about that now. Actually, I think it starts off very much horror with the kind of jump scares bit, and in fact, I think even the music. Actually, I'm going to digress. And even the music scared me. Like
yeah,
there's even the opening credits made me jump.
yeah,
Um, and I really did like the music in this one. A guy called Harry Manfredini,
yeah.
who apparently also did the music for Friday the 13th, but I
Ah,
don't
okay.
remember that so much. I don't think it was a big film for me, although I recognise the franchise and Jason Voorhees. It
Yeah,
wasn't a. I don't think I really watched the original ones. But yeah, I think the music in it very discordant, like a lot of horror films. It seems
yeah,
to be put you ill at ease, I guess, with
yeah,
you probably know better about this than me, to be honest. And I also liked, actually, still on this, the music. I really liked all the Motown songs used in it as well.
yeah.
Um,
I like
which I
those
think there's a
things.
bit in the middle. I think that's where it changes. Actually, is I think yeah, there's a bit. It starts off quite scary. There's a few jump scares, but then I think it's the bit where his wife turns into a monster and he like
Yeah,
chops her up and buries her in the garden. And I think that's where it starts to turn to a comedy. And I think
yeah.
from then on, I don't think there's too much, really, that much scary at the film.
No,
It just largely just makes me laugh. Actually, the film.
yeah.
And I think they're playing, what's to say, "You're No Good," isn't it? That song, Motown, "You're
That's
No
the
Good."
one.
I
Yeah,
think they're
yeah.
playing that when Roger's chopping up his wife.
He's almost beating
But
her
yeah,
to the rhythm of "You're No Good" when he's doing it, which kind of makes it even more
yes,
amusing. And then in the middle of all that, this sort of model appears from pretty much nowhere and starts sort of chatting him up. It's brilliant.
yes, yeah. It's yeah. I don't know if that happens. I've never been rich enough to own a pool, but whether
No,
whether you own a pool and then suddenly model type people start coming in your wrong terminology, start sort of entering your, oh God, I can't think of the right words here, start using your pool.
yeah. I mean,
Couldn't say anything
I
that
haven't
didn't sound like
noticed
an
that yet.
innuendo. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
maybe maybe it's like Field of Dreams. Maybe if you build one, they will come, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So I need
We'll
to get
try it.
one first. uh but no, it really made me laugh. I think there's a bit with George Wendt where he's phoning Roger Cobb's wife when he's worried, and I think he says, "Don't worry, I'll call you if something bad happens."
Yeah,
I love
that's
that
right.
phrase. Like, yeah, rest assured, if something bad happens, I'll call you. Like, I don't know how that's supposed to put her at ease.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It did seem to work because she seemed all right with it. And it's oh great, thanks. The other bit which I really like when and that's like his character from Cheers. It says the old lady lived here.
Yeah.
She was a proper bitch. Uh, she was completely
Oh
insane.
yeah, yeah.
Couldn't stand her. And he says, "Oh, that was my." I said, "Heart of gold, though." I love that. That was great. But that seems like that's fairly in
Oh, that's good.
character for him. In every film I've sort of seen him in, that's the sort of thing he regularly does.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And I like all the bits with the hand as well. So that hand kind of, that's probably
Yeah,
why it ends up in the poster. That hand becomes a bit of a star in itself. So I love all the
yeah.
bits with the hand with the dog digging it up. And
Oh,
also I think the bit where he like finally dispatches it by flushing it down the toilet as well.
yeah.
I
And
really like that bit as well.
it's like hanging on, isn't it, as it goes
Yeah,
down?
it's trying to cling on. Um, yeah. Some interesting bits. I really stupidly, I think this one, I used to have, and I don't know if it influenced. Actually, it couldn't have because I'm sure my mum would have bought it. I had a blue jumper just like Roger Cobb's, which I
Ah,
loved.
nice.
Maybe I loved it because of Roger Cobb. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I definitely had one of those. Um, Oh yeah, yeah, that was something else as well. It's interesting when I saw the bit. There's like a wide shot when Roger bashes through the bathroom mirror, revealing like another world behind it.
Yeah,
And there's a bit he's kind of stood in the mirror, and there's all that blackness, and there's kind of a silhouette of him in that mirror, like
yeah,
in the darkness. I was thinking, my God, that's just like the cover of Midas, and I think I must have been influenced
yeah,
by that to put it on, because I was absolutely convinced when I did Midas I wanted to do that, and it does
yeah,
reference a part of the book, but I definitely wanted. I reckon I got it from there, to be honest. And actually, that I was thinking as well. Some of the short stories, the short story I did, Nightmare, as well. That was definitely influenced by that bit where he's kind of like climbing into that darkness and going down the
yeah.
rope as well. Definitely, because it's a bit about falling, I think, in Nightmare, and I think that was definitely thinking about that one as well.
That bit in it is quite sort of disturbing, isn't it? Like that thing of your bathroom mirror, everything's fine, and then you put a chair through it, and it's like a bottomless sort of pit. And I quite like that. That was one of the bit in the film that it got a bit. I think they ratcheted it up a notch there, actually.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. But the bit that sends a bit of chill through me as well is the bit prior to that where he pulls the I don't know what it's like, a rag on the or sheet off the painting, and then he sees his son like beating on
Yeah,
it from the inside of the bathroom mirror, and
yeah,
like that bit chills me a little bit, actually,
yeah,
because there's
yeah,
not
yeah,
too much scary in it, I don't think, beyond a certain point, but that bit chilled me, that particular bit, because it would, yeah, just looking at it is just like a just the picture itself, I think, and the
yeah.
realization. But that
The
was,
pictures in it are really good. There's a couple, isn't there? And they're all really well done. They're all quite disturbing if you get a little look at them.
yeah,
And it adds that element to it, I think. And like you say, yeah, it's not as scary like a shock, but it's quite. I don't know if it's because we're parents or, um, but yeah, I had the same thing with that. You know,
yeah.
it's definitely sort of pretty creepy.
It's definitely
Um,
an added element, isn't it? I mean, yeah, when I
yeah,
originally watched that film, I didn't have kids, but I think that is an added element to the film. The fact that his son is kidnapped, I think, is
yeah,
definitely an added element of, I guess, fear. I guess that I wouldn't have really had before, being, not really thinking about being responsible for someone else.
no, no, that's it.
Okay. What else was there that I liked? I really like the Diet Coke product placement. I do like this in films. I know it's a really
Yeah,
stupid thing to pick up, but there's a bit where he's doing he's writing his book, and he makes sure he's got his Coke can in front of his computer, turned perfectly so you can
yeah,
see Diet Coke written on it. And in fact,
that's
it's
right.
still working now because I'm saying Diet Coke now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's still working now. So I quite like that bit of product placement. Um, okay, so I got to ask, what did you think about the special effects in this film?
Well, I thought they were good. There's sort of weird ones, isn't there? Like they're more funny. Like the one where he sort of shoots. What is it? His wife? Oh no, the cartridge rolls off the table, and his wife
Yeah,
ducks down, and she pops up as that sort of witch.
yeah, yeah,
Um, that's not terribly scary. It looks like a sort of mask you could get in the
yeah,
shop. But I thought that, and then when I saw it a bit closer, I thought that's actually a little bit horrible. It's got teeth and it's sort of dribbling. Um, they're kind of a bit creepy. There's some sort of. I think the best one was the. I found it was called the War Demon that comes out of the closet. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I quite like that because it had other sort of faces in it that were sort of like frozen in horror, and it was uh, it was something like 18 feet long. It had loads of people operating it, basically a massive puppet, and I quite like that. And that was one of the. I'd say that was a pants filling moment. The first time that pops out, that was a genuine like whoa. Um, the There's those demon children. They were a bit weird. They were sort of scary in the way, yeah, that they had those big teeth,
yeah, yeah.
and it was sort of a bit creepy. Yeah, that was kind of. I wouldn't say it was horrifying, but it was definitely. sort of a bit, yeah, like a bit scary, and definitely wouldn't want to spend too much time with them. Um, War Demon was the best one, I think.
Yeah. I think I read that that was supposed to be a bunch of like sort of Vietnam soldiers or American soldiers being, maybe it's Vietnam soldiers actually, Vietnamese, but being napalmed and almost being like, as they were napalmed, they were kind of almost like spliced together, I guess, by the explosion. I think was
Ah,
supposed to be the intent of that. I never got that at the time. For me, when I watched it originally, it was just some scary thing in the glass.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
never
yeah,
really got
yeah,
the reference, but I tell you the bit I love, and it's not scary. I just love it. There's a bit where Roger's gone into the mirror. He's on a rope. And he's taken a shotgun with him, and he keeps getting buffeted by something flying past.
yeah,
And it's this kind of winged skeleton
yeah,
thing, but it manages to get hold of his shotgun, like knocks it out of his
yeah,
hand, and there's a bit where it reappears and it kind of like spins the shotgun around its finger like
yeah,
a gunslinger and then
yeah,
shoots the rope. And it's all stop motion stuff. But I
yeah,
love that bit. Think
yeah,
that bit was so cool. And if
yeah,
there's any part of that film I remember the most, Steve, like we were talking about Ice Pirates, it was the bit with the, sort of the chomper thing
yeah,
that, created the eunuchs. The bit from this film I always remember is that bit with the winged skeleton spinning that round,
yeah,
spinning the thing round and shooting.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, yeah, I enjoyed the film. I thought, yeah, the main actors did well. I agree with you. I like Richard Mole. I thought he was good. I like William Cat. I think
yeah,
he played the almost kind of. I think in playing almost like a role where people thought he was losing his mind, because that's how it kind of
yeah,
looked from the outside, from the kind of George Wendt character. I think it really went into comedic with that as well. I didn't quite get.
yeah,
I think he kind of really pushed that kind of button, um, but no, I think it was good. I think it was a 15. So, although
yeah,
there are some really scary 15s, I'd say they tend to be on the more psychological side. But I think
yeah.
this one's probably 15 because it didn't go too hard on the horror side. Actually, it kept it quite
No,
light, and it was more on the comedic side.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I read that it wasn't originally, it was rewritten as a comedy. Originally, it didn't have a comedy element in it, and then it was scriptwriter. I remember the first name Ethan, but yeah, he sort of rewrote it and added the comedy element to it. But I think it's really well balanced because it's not like totally comedy. There's just like enough. It's
Yeah.
a really cool movie, and um, it stood the test. You know, some movies don't stand the test of time, but I think that one really does. It's still like really entertaining, and I still really enjoyed watching it. Great.
Yeah, I really like the story. In fact, I think that guy Ethan came in later. I think the original story was done by, or script was by a guy called Fred Decker,
Yeah.
and he also did a film I love, and I watched it with my son on Friday called Monster Squad.
All right.
And this is, I can't go into too much, I guess, but Monster Squad is like a monster version of the Goonies, is the best way I can describe it.
Right.
It must have been totally outside of the target market because it was kind of, it's the kind of film I probably want to watch as a young kid, but actually it was a
Yeah.
15 because of the level of content in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it probably must have missed its market, but yeah, he wrote the screenplay for that, which also has a lot of comedic elements. Although, like you said, I think that guy Ethan, I can't remember his second, Wiley maybe,
Yeah.
he
Ethan Wiley. That's it.
yeah, he brought in those comedic elements to the film. But
Yeah.
no, I like this one. I thought it was really good. The aunt I thought was good as well. I thought she played that kind of crazy old kind of aunt type
Yeah.
thing. He wasn't really crazy. She was type thing. I thought she was really good as well.
Yeah. She only had a small partner, didn't she? But she had quite a creepy. That was one of the first creepy things about it. She had that smile. She had very even white teeth, and it's the sort of thing that Stephen King writes. You know, the smile, slightly too many teeth. And I thought that was really cool. It's just slightly creepy when she smiled, and I loved that. Wish she'd been in it more.
Yeah, it
Um,
was good. Yeah, I think yeah, because I think she gives the first kind of like, yeah, the first noises in the house when Rogers returns, isn't it, as well? I think
yeah.
she's the ghost upstairs and gives that really stark warning about, the
Yeah,
house has tricked her and she ended up, killing herself, and it's gonna, it's gonna get him too, type thing. So it's kind
yeah,
of sets it up really, really nicely. I mean, they could have played it completely straight, and I think it would have been a proper pants filler.
Yeah.
But I'm not sad because I really liked it the way it was.
Have you got a best punchline from the film?
Oh, I don't know actually. I mean, I quite like the insults that Ben throws at Roger during
Yeah.
that final scene. You know, that you punch like a little girl and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and things like that. He like taunts him all the way around, I think, as he's
Yeah.
chasing him until he kind of, I guess. Well, I'm not going to spoil it, and you know, while he's doing that, kind of in the as we get to the conclusion of the film, no spoilers this time after Ice Pirates, but I'm taking no
No.
responsibility for that because they gave the spoiler in the trailer, so I'm not giving.
Yeah, they pretty much went through the whole of the film, didn't they? You just watched the trailer, really. But
Yeah. In fact, your special effects, actually, I think I recognise the work of someone who worked on Ice Pirates.
yeah. They work a bit cheaper now, so I got a good deal.
I think they worked cheap then, but anyway. Okay. So that's the first film. That's the
Yeah,
one I'm proposing that we spend our hard-earned cash on. Um,
nice.
we're going to take a break. After the break, we're going to come back with Guy Gardner's choice
Yeah,
for the film, and I don't think you've pulled any punches with yours, so I won't
no,
reveal it now. But I think you've gone all out here. You've gone big. I think
full
on this one.
horror.
I think you've gone big on this one. You pulled out the big guns on this one. Okay, well let's take a break now.
Midas, a cautionary tale of not listening to the voices in your head. Unless those voices in your head are telling you to buy Midas, I listen to those ones. Available on Amazon. When I've had a hard day, disemboweling hikers and chasing London buses around London, I like to relax in a hot bath and eat my Cadbury's Flake like they did in the 80s, as it should be. Cadbury's Flake.
He was just an ordinary boy, living an idyllic life on the barges. One day his world is thrown into chaos, and he's forced to move to the streets of London. Pray you never meet the apprentice thief. Available soon in all good VHS video shops.
Welcome back to part 2 of VHS Film Club. In part 1, I proposed the film House with William Catt, but I know Guy has a big ace up his sleeve, so I'm going to hand over to Guy now to introduce the film he's got off the shelf.
I do. All right. Well, so the one I got was Nightmare on Elm Street. I thought go large or go home. It was a film I didn't see it again. It was released 1984, and I think it would have been again probably about the same 87, 88. Maybe it would have sort of come out and hit video shelves. Um, it was brilliant. I mean, I can remember like Freddy Krueger. Well, shall I go into what should I do first? Shall I do a synopsis of the film first?
Well, I'd be amazed if anyone doesn't know about this, but I think let's just let's assume our viewing audience has no idea about the plot of this film. But yeah,
Yeah,
give
they've
us a quick
never heard of it.
synopsis.
So the synopsis, and I think it's a sort of a great start of the story, is all these teenagers start having a dream. Well, it starts off with a dream actually, um, and this dream's pretty sort of horrendous, and features this figure in the now famous fedora and the sort of Dennis the Menace jumper. um, and this girl has this dream, and when she wakes up, she's got cuts, sort of like on a nightdress, and this is how it starts. and they all start having these dreams, and they don't realize at first that they're all having the same dream, sort of featuring this figure. And what they don't know is every time they have a dream, he sort of comes slowly more into the real world and is able to sort of do sort of pretty hideous things. And it sort of transpires that he's an undead child murderer seeking revenge, sort of hideously burnt. But he didn't really, well, he did die, but he sort of lingered around. And that's the start of that's the sort of premise of the film. And then it kind of goes from there. And it was brilliant watching it. I think the first time my parents got it, I wasn't allowed to watch it. And then I sort of was. Subsequently after that, I've got some trivia for it. I
Great,
found,
cool. Yeah, hit me with some knowledge.
yeah, hopefully this is something people don't know. Well, the first thing, the budget was it was under 2 million, so it was a sort of low budget, and it made 25, and it actually saved New Line Cinema. They were going down the Swanee, and it actually saved them from bankruptcy. And they were allowed through that sort of franchise, they actually built up into sort of who they are today. It started with that. Robert England, obviously, played Freddy Krueger. He auditioned. I hope you don't know. This is so funny. He auditioned for the part of Han Solo in Star Wars.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. How about that? I mean, it's like I just can't see it. I know a few did. A few sort of auditioned, and I think all of them. Kurt Russell did, and you think, okay, I can see
Yeah,
that.
I can see that.
I
Yeah.
can't picture Robert England as. Well, he did. He didn't get the part. But he was also responsible for suggesting Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. So it's sort of pretty instrumental in that. He also, on the subject of Robert England, he also played Phantom of the Opera. They used the whole Freddy Krueger thing and did a horror version of the Phantom of the Opera, which is what it originally was. It wasn't like a nice sort of show. It was a bit of a sort of horror story. So they used his fame, Freddy Krueger, and he was the Phantom of the Opera. He studied over here at the Royal Academy, and it's like an awesome. I really like him. He's a sort of really nice guy in real life. Johnny Depp made his debut there. Apparently, Charlie Sheen was going to be in it in Johnny Depp's part. But he wanted $3,000 a week, and they couldn't afford it.
Right. Okay.
So Johnny got his first film, and he got it because the director Wes Craven's daughter thought that he was cute. So he sort of got in. That's how these things sort of happen, isn't it?
I think a lot of the world agreed afterwards. I think based on his success.
Yeah, exactly. Freddy Krueger was actually named after a bully, someone that bullied Wes Craven.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So he named that character after him. He doesn't wear a mask in it because so many villains at the time, movie villains, sort of wore masks. Like obviously Friday the 13th. So Wes Craven wanted to change it up. So he had the sort of knife hands, it's sort of iconic, glove with the knives and steak knives. And no mask, just this sort of hideous, sort of burnt face.
I would say that those aren't the only differences. I think one of the key differences with Freddy versus like Jason Voorhees, who's Friday the 13th with the hockey mask, and Michael Myers in Halloween, they're both very, very stoic.
Yeah.
Kind of bad guy. Whereas Freddy, he's to put it no other way, he's having the time of his life. Chasing around and torturing these kids. He's like really enjoying his work. Whereas you don't really get that impression from Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. They're kind of a bit more, I gotta kill someone else again, have I? It's there's any joy in their work at all, to be honest. Whereas Freddy, it's very, very clear he likes what he does.
He likes what he does. And I sort of love what Robert England did with him because, and the other thing with him is that he's not, whereas these other sort of movie like horror villains, like nothing stops them. You know, they push down doors, they have chainsaws. But Freddy's quite like he runs in this sort of stagger when he
Mm.
chases people, doesn't he? He doesn't run, you know, kind of like a bit sort of ape-like, and he sort of falls over, and it's like he's not totally invulnerable. And like you say, sort of having the time of his life, and he's crashing into dustbins, and something about that makes it really scary. It's like it is utterly hideous. And then there's a bit where he cuts his fingers off with the sort of glove knives, and
Yeah,
this
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
pus comes out. Properly sort of horrible, really. And he cuts his chest, doesn't he, as well? The sort of
yeah.
maggots. Um, it's kind
He's
of like,
self-mutilating himself because he's enjoying the reaction he's getting
yeah,
from his intending victim from doing it, so he thinks it's hysterical.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I would never do anything, you know, to my kids. I am going to go up and wake them up in a minute. But yeah, I like him as a villain. And he sort of became. I remember at school, like everyone just sort of really liked him, you know. And there's Freddie gloves. You could buy like Freddie gloves in sort of joke shops and things. And
Yeah, yeah,
obviously, really, no one was supposed to have seen it because it was an 18. But obviously, every kid just watched it, you know, when it came out.
yeah.
Um, and it's yeah, I think he's a really good villain. He really sort of stands the. I mean, they did quite a lot of movies as well, didn't they? They did sort of.
I've got 9 total, including a film I really want to watch, called Freddy versus Jason, where they brought the
Yeah,
2 franchises together, which I saw a tiny clip of the other day, where they were kind of having starting to have a fight. I'm sure there's more
yeah,
than one fight in the film, but yeah, 9 films total.
you're nine, yeah, and he's played by because Robert England eventually said, "I'm getting a bit fed up, you know, so I'm getting a bit old to be running around and fighting people." He suggested Kevin Bacon might make a good Freddy.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I can't. I don't know if I can quite see that. Jackie Earl Haley played him, which I can see. And I watched a little clip of it. It's sort of pretty good. Um, but I think it's always Robert, isn't it?
Yeah, he is. He's iconic. It's kind of I don't know. It's going to be hard to imagine, anyone but Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. It's kind of like
Yeah,
he's that kind of level, isn't it?
yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. Special effects. There's some good ones. The very first. There's quite a lot of scary moments in it. Like I think one of the first ones that really gets me is in the very opening sequence when he's chasing around this sort of boiler room, and suddenly he has these really long arms with
Yeah.
the knives at either end. And I don't know if I've had nightmares about stuff like that, but it's like just such his arms to sort of suddenly extend when he's walking down the wall with these sort of knives.
The Mr. Tickle arms.
Yeah, exactly. There's so Mr. T. And then when you find out how it was done, it loses. It was like 2 people with fishing poles walking along like next to him with these sort of arms up, and it loses a bit of the sort of horror. Um, there's quite a lot of again, I don't know how much shock. There's some really disturbing bits, like when the Tina, who's the girl that's originally murdered, she suffers pretty badly. She sort of ends up flying around the room, being sort of disemboweled.
Yeah.
Um, she appears in a sort of body bag at school, sort of talking. She
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
dragged away. That's pretty horrible.
That's really
Um,
creepy. I'd say that's one of the scariest bits for me. Actually, is the bits with
yeah,
Tina in the body bag. To be honest.
and then and she appears later in that shroud with all the eels, or whatever they are, snakes and mud coming out of it. I find something about that deeply, deeply sort of disturbing.
Yeah, I think Tina gets a real rough deal, to be honest, because I think
Yeah,
she gets the worst murder, I think, out of the lot, or the most
yeah,
torturous murder. Um, and it follows this kind of theme. I think there was in a lot of 80s horror films that the particularly I think particularly the woman. I think actually,
yeah,
if you were a teenage girl having sex,
Yeah,
you're pretty much going to get it first, get killed
yeah,
first, and you're going to get killed pretty brutally as well. It seems like almost
yeah,
like a morality kind of kill
yeah.
from the bad guy.
It was horrendous, and I think after that she dies really brutally. There's sort of blood everywhere, and one of my top quotes from the film, a really insensitive cop outside, he just says to another one, he says, "You're going to need a mop."
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're. I think that's Glenn, who's the kind of the Johnny Depp guy. I think that's when, because he kind of dies. He doesn't get kind of thrown around. He gets sucked into the bed, but basically all
Yeah,
his kind of blood flies up. Yeah, but
yeah,
I think it's that bit. But you're absolutely right. I thought that was because there are some funny bits in the film. Most of them are around Freddy, really, which you
yeah,
can either take as kind of like him toying with his prey, so very scary, or kind of laugh with him. But the other bit was that bit. Yeah, you don't. You're not gonna. I think you're not gonna need a stretcher. You're gonna need a mop,
yeah,
which is like Jesus Christ.
yeah. He hasn't done
There's
the
some
the course.
sensitivity training needed, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. There was nothing like that then, was there? No sensitivity to anything. Um, what about the? I think the worst that there's so the special effects pretty creepy. Mostly blood, wasn't it? A heck of a lot of blood flying about.
Yeah,
Um, there's one where all the blood sort of comes out the bed. Sort of comes up rushing back out. That's
yeah.
pretty.
That's Johnny
Uh,
Depp's, isn't it? That's Johnny Depp's death
yeah,
after he gets sucked into the bed, and then you don't really see what happens to him, but obviously he gets completely blended by
yeah,
Freddy.
yeah. One thing I noticed about it, as far as I can tell, you might correct me on this. You don't actually ever see Freddy do anyone any damage.
Oh, hang on. You definitely see him cut people, I guess. You see him rolling around with a lot of people. I'm just trying to think
Yeah,
now. With Tina, I'm just trying to think now. Tina, he gets, and yeah, actually, he's invisible when he's
he's
killing
invisible.
Tina, so you can't see. So, okay, you are you thinking you're going to defend Freddy, like sort of like one of those
I
lawyers who wins unwinnable cases?
Yeah, I think I am because I haven't seen him do anyone any harm.
Yeah, and then
Uh,
yeah, it's interesting actually. I mean, I think
he
you do
harms
see a lot of
himself.
rolling about and a lot of threats.
Yeah,
You obviously don't see what happens to. Actually, you could probably completely write him out of Johnny Depp's murder because you
yeah,
don't see. There might be a chuckle maybe who
yeah,
may sound a bit like Freddy,
yeah,
but you don't see that. I think Rod, who is the second person to go, is the other person who has teenage sex, but has it a lot easier than his girlfriend Tina. He gets hung. I think he has a
yeah,
very short death actually. I think
yeah.
he's not tortured in the same way.
No,
I think a bad move on Freddie's part at that point really because he basically had someone fitted up for the murder at that point.
yeah, yeah,
But I guess he didn't really care, living in the dream world and not being untouchable anyway. But
yeah,
I think there's a case. I think there's a case there. You could come in as his lawyer and
yeah,
probably successfully defend. Yeah, I think. Yeah, maybe with modern DNA stuff. Maybe he may
yeah,
not get away with that. I don't know. I imagine he's going to have quite a bit of blood in
yeah,
his clothes. But then he does get burnt regularly, doesn't he? So
yeah.
maybe that destroys the evidence. I guess I don't know how effective burning is. I'm sure there's still trace elements. Like I said, I'm not a police procedure writer, so,
No, I know that's a sort of a ground Barton question, isn't it? But I would imagine burning probably does sort of destroy the DNA. No, I think there's a good case for him being. I mean, he's unfortunate. I wouldn't say he's maybe made some bad life choices, but murder maybe not.
bad luck. Yes, it is. When he was actually alive, he was a child murderer. So
Oh
he
yeah.
should he kill about 20
Well, we're not
kids?
talking about that, are we? We're talking about the
Oh,
afterlife.
afterwards, okay. So you're not saying 20 bad life choices.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
I feel like there's a sort of point in the film I do feel a bit sorry for him. I think he sort of manifests,
Yeah,
and then Nancy, who's sort of the main protagonist sets up this trap with a massive sledgehammer, and then she fills like a bulb with sort of
Yeah.
gunpowder. And he sort of runs into, opens this door, and gets sort of hit in the chest with the sledgehammer. And then a bit later, this light bulb goes off, and he gets set on fire. And it's like at that point, oh mate, you know,
Yeah.
I feel a bit sorry for you now, to be honest.
She properly Home Alones him, didn't she? Actually,
Yeah,
think about it. I know this was before Home Alone, but she basically booby traps her house.
yeah.
Yes, I don't know if that was an influence to the writers of Home Alone. It could have been. I don't know. It's worthy of some investigation.
Yeah, definitely. And then what do you think? I mean, what do you think was like the worst? Did you have one that was like the worst special effect in that?
Well, actually, you mentioned one which I think you thought was good. I thought the Mr. Tickle Arms, that one
Yeah,
I didn't think was the best. The worst one though is I won't say what point of the film, but there's a bit in the film where somebody gets pulled through a very small window in a door,
yeah,
presumably by Freddy. I'm not saying, again, you can't see his face, or
no,
so again, I think you're right there. Um, but but it clearly looks like what the special effect is. It looks like a blow up person being pulled through a window.
yeah,
So that was probably the worst one. I'd say. There are some good ones. I think.
yeah,
Like I said, you mentioned Tina's death is horrific, but also is very scary. But at the same
yeah,
time, is also well done. Glenn's death's really good with the rushing blood up at the ceiling.
yeah,
There's a bit of a special effect and it's reused. I don't know which way. I think maybe it's the same special effects crew. I didn't cross check this,
yeah,
but it was very similar to a special effect used in Ghostbusters for the Devil Dog, where it kind of like almost like almost like peers through a wall and the wall goes very elastic and there's like a light
yeah.
behind it. And Freddy does that as well. He kind of looms over Nancy, and it's
That's
when
right. Yeah,
the cross pops off a wall and wakes her up, and
yeah,
she's like, "Why is this falling off the wall?" And it's
yeah,
because, well, a minute ago Freddy was like looming right over you.
yeah,
So I thought those were really good. And actually thinking about things I'd written before, I remember I must have seen this. I must have seen something like this. So I don't know if it was from Ghostbusters, but I remember I wrote a story in school. Must have been about 12, 13. And it was about someone who took their own life by
right.
jumping off a balcony. But actually, the reason they took, maybe it was house actually influenced it, but they took their life because of some ghosts almost like goaded them into it or tricked them into
Right.
doing it. But there was a bit in that story which very much kind of described that kind of special effect. So I must
Yeah.
have either, maybe it's from Ghostbusters, because Ghostbusters I'd seen. I don't know if I'd seen Nightmare on Elm Street by then or not.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely use that in a story that I used in school. I think my English teacher pulled me aside and said, "Did you really write that?" And I went, "Yeah." Got a good mark for that. What else? Yeah, but I think that those were the good special effects anyway,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Did you have any more fun facts in your fun fact sheet?
Let's have a look. I may have used them up. Hold on. Oh yeah. DJ Jazzy Jeff, the Fresh Prince, made a song titled "Nightmare on My Street," which was a homage to Nightmare on Elm
Okay.
Street.
Okay.
Um, oh
That could
yeah.
have been. Go on.
Sorry, go on.
I was, yeah, they could have been done. Like, they could have done that for the closing credits because there was the dodgiest song ever for the closing credits, and I don't know if they renamed the band for the film, but the band was called Nightmare 213,
Yeah.
and it was. I got to be honest, I thought it was probably one of the worst songs I'd heard.
Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, no, it wasn't the best. Um, oh yeah, the other one I've got. Yeah, all the boiler room footage was shot in the basement of Lincoln Heights Jail in Los Angeles, and it was condemned shortly after production due to high levels of asbestos.
Oh God,
That's
nice,
that's
nice.
pretty bad, isn't it?
Well, considering there's
Um,
no safe level of asbestos, yes,
no,
that's one fibre of asbestos can give you cancer. Then yeah, that's
yeah,
really bad.
it's pretty bad,
God,
isn't it?
yes.
So that's not so fun fact.
Yeah, so that should have been
Um,
asbestos gonna get you.
yeah, yeah. Music, music.
Yeah.
So I really liked. I wrote some notes on music. Um, yeah, I sort of really liked. I liked the music for both films. Um, the music for this is done by a guy called Charles Bernstein,
Yeah.
who did quite a few other horror films, which
Yeah.
I can't now remember, but quite well known ones. Um, because the budget was low, he did it all on synth, so there was no one else. It was
Mm.
just him. But I really liked it, and there was this recurring little sort of theme, like a nursery rhyme in
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but it's set against like quite discordant sort of backing.
Yeah.
And
I
I don't
do.
know if that's the first time that's been done, but
Well, the nursery
probably
rhyme
not.
bit.
But it worked really well,
Yeah.
and I think that sort of again lift. There's little things that sort of lift these films up, isn't there? Like you said about the art in the other one,
Yeah.
and I think that music, because obviously it could have been just synths and whatever, but that it also occasionally nursery rhyme bit, and it kind of occurs in different parts. I love that. And if you take away, if you actually don't watch the film, listen to that. It's really quite pretty. But it's just when you're obviously watching, the film, it sort of changes it a bit. But
Yeah. I do.
so I love the music to that. I thought it was
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah, I do remember the nursery rhyme. It's what's it? 1, 2, Freddy's coming for
Yes,
you. 3, 4, better lock
that's
your
it.
door. But you think there's a lot of really creepy nursery rhymes. You think about was it Ring a Ring of Roses, which is about
Yeah,
the Black Death, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Tissue, tissue, we all fall down. So I think there's a
yeah,
real thing about sort of nursery rhymes can be very, very dark actually, and
yeah.
introduce kids to the dangers of the world.
There's Mary Mary Quite Contrary was the other one, wasn't it? Mary Queen of Scots with all the
Okay,
sort of buried bodies and um, yeah, that in fact I think yeah, because Little Miss Muffet that was about Robert the Bruce.
okay,
Sort of, and yeah, they in fact I think they all were like mostly anyway with like political sort of statements or designed in one way or another to sort of give these messages to kids.
yeah,
A bit like I mean I don't know if you sort of read like I think modern like modern kids stories are really cool. Things like Gruffalo, and I think they're
yeah,
brilliant. But like some of the older ones again are pretty dark, and they obviously were designed to well, again, obviously Hans and Gretel's the obvious one,
yeah,
but they were designed to warn kids, like if you go out, this could happen.
yeah.
Um,
So what's what's the moral tale of this one then? Then if you do have a child murderer, they should go through due process through the courts. You should go for a retrial and be not go vigilante on them. Otherwise, they'll come
yeah,
back from the dead and kill every
yeah,
generation of your kids and probably the next kids
yeah,
for probably 9 films.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't judge a book by its cover. It's just a
Yeah.
misunderstood Dennis the Menace. I think.
Yeah, maybe should have. Yeah, maybe he was always the wrong guy. Maybe that's the
Yeah,
point of it. It's actually Freddy Krueger's avenging sort of this um, wrongful kind of fingering for being a child murderer.
yeah, yeah. Um, there was what was that? There was another fact. It's just gone out of my head now. Um, the Freddie rhyme
Yeah.
was written by the boyfriend of one of the cast members, I think. Sort of
Oh,
jotted
okay,
it down.
that's cool.
That's sort of another one I kind of gleaned. But I think the story of it is really good. This idea that if you fall asleep, it's going to give power to this sort of dream demon. It's a pretty nifty idea.
It's a brilliant idea because it's completely hidden from the 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 other characters, the parents, the ones who aren't necessarily affected by this,
Yeah,
because he's targeting the kids. It does come across as just like almost like a paranoid delusion.
yeah,
So I think it's a really clever way of doing this.
yeah,
And also it also with I guess with the other franchises at the time, like Halloween and Friday the 13th, it's a little less explicable why they're these kind of unstoppable killing machines,
Yeah,
whereas actually this is a bit more elaborate in actually saying, well, the reason Freddy can do this is because he gets people in the dream realm,
yeah,
and actually, that's where his power is, and actually there's a bit more explanation around it rather than was it being inexplicable why this person has these, or why this demonic thing has these powers. But I think
yeah,
it's quite clever.
yeah. It is. It's quite subtle. It's sort of maybe that's what does make it creepy. And we've all had sort of dreams where you're sort of like paralyzed. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's pretty horrible. And the thought that something like that could come back in. And there's one when she goes to that sleep clinic. That's a really good scene. As it goes to the sleep clinic and everything's going to be fine. We're just going to test your REM, and it should be
Yeah.
between 2 and 5. And I like things like that. And then the needle starts moving, and then like the doctors, it like goes up to 15. The needle's sort of going like that, and it's like something's really wrong. And she has this hideous dream, and she comes back with the hat.
Yeah.
And I just think, and I don't think I can't if you actually see what the dream is. I don't, but you just see that she comes back and she's holding this hat.
Yeah. I think you see at
And
the other end, don't you? You just see the results, which is
yeah,
her freaking out in bed, and the dream analyst or whatever it is freaking out because he's seen something he's never seen before. And
yeah,
the bit bringing the hat back, I think, is cool. That's a nice creepy bit, isn't it? Especially
yeah,
for Nancy's mum, seeing that hat. You can imagine her, you know, you know, I don't know, it's a stomach almost like turning into ice type thing,
yeah,
seeing that.
yeah.
Because
And we
it
won't we
kind of
won't do
blows
a
the delusion
spoiler.
out of the water, doesn't it? Almost, it's kind of
Yeah,
like, well, this can't be a delusion because you've just
yeah,
you
yeah.
just
Here's
pull
a
this
proof.
hat out of nowhere.
But she sort of tries to gloss it over and says, "Well, I don't know where you got that hat, but
Yeah,
but there's
yeah,
like
I
no
agree.
explanation for it. She knows it deep down." And yeah, we won't do a spoiler. She's obviously linked in with it, but
What, what do you think about the cover art for this one? I'm thinking there's a few out there, but the one I remember is the one where you've got Nancy kind of going to sleep and kind of Freddy's hand kind of hovering over her head. That's the one I remember. It's kind of almost
yeah.
like monochrome. It was kind of I think like
Okay.
dark. It's like blue and white, almost like.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen that one actually. Oh,
Okay.
so I maybe I didn't look at the original. I saw a couple that were good. There's one with him, but he's sort of looking down, so you see more
Yeah.
of the sort of hat. And there's one with just the glove against a sort of red kind of background. Um, but both of those were sort of I thought were really good. I don't think there's any more. There's quite a few for this. Um, that's
It's
the
such a
two I
good.
sort of remember. The glove one I quite liked because it's just so horrible, isn't it? And there's no mistaking that's not for something. It's not for gardening, is it? There's only one use for that glove.
But it was in Edward Scissorhands. I mean, Johnny Depp does
Oh,
take
that's
on the
true.
mantle of the glove in Edward Scissorhands, isn't he? Actually,
Yeah, yeah,
that's one good thing in the opening credits. Actually, is the opening credits is just that glove being
yeah,
made, which is just creepy because you're looking at that and you're thinking, well, you're thinking that can't be for any other use apart from some really wicked intent. And I
yeah,
think that's quite
yeah,
a
yeah.
clever way to open the film. Actually, I thought it was
And
really good.
he's sort of breathing the
Um,
whole time, isn't he? He's like, and he's
yeah.
sort of making it. It just makes it nice. And yet, watching that, it was
Yeah.
creepy. But yes, I thought his DIY skills were really good. He did a really good bit of soldering, made a joint, all the sort of things. Like if I made it would basically be expanding foam.
So did you have DIY FOMO watching that bit?
Yeah,
Almost
I was
like
just like,
envy. Maybe FOMO is the wrong word for
yeah,
envy.
yeah. No, I did. I thought that's great. The soldering was neat. The rivets were really good. The joints, he's tested all the joints. Got to give credit where
He's getting
credit's
it.
due.
He's going to get his A in D&T, isn't he?
Yeah, the teacher were like,
Um,
can we just have a chat?"
okay. What else was I going? I think you. I mean, yeah, I think you kind of exhausted my knowledge on this film. To be honest, so the only things I'd probably add about people who are in it. I know from elsewhere. John Saxon's in it, who's
Yeah,
Nancy's dad. He's kind of the cop. And people probably know John Saxon most from being a guy called Roper in Enter the Dragon.
yeah,
So who enters that tournament as well. So you couldn't think of a more hardcore dad unless you're picking
no,
someone like Chuck Norris to be your dad
yeah,
or something like that. So I thought that was cool. And then there's someone called Lynn Shay. I don't know if you know who Lynn Shay is, but she's
no.
in one of my favourite films called Kingpin, which is a comedy. And she's kind of she's kind of a very gross landlady, but I think deliberately portrayed that way. But yeah, she plays a very different role in Kingpin, very, very
Right.
comedic. But yeah, she's the teacher, when Nancy falls asleep and is screaming. So she's in it as well. So other
Ah,
people might
okay, yeah,
recognize her. She's also in Something About Mary as well. Obviously written and directed by Wes Craven, who went on to direct loads of these films, but also
yeah,
Scream as well,
yeah,
which was also massive. But I don't think Scream would have been what it was without this, because I think everyone wanted to be in Scream
yeah,
because it was Wes Craven. Um, and then we talked about some of the pants filling stuff. There's quite a few jump scares, which are
yeah,
kind of like bread and butter. And the body bag bit is really creepy with Tina, I think.
yeah.
But one thing I would say, I mean, you might feel differently about this. I wouldn't say this kind of chill me to the core like maybe some of the other films of the era. And I was trying to work out why it was, and I think it's because it's probably the wrong way of putting it, but Freddy Krueger reminds me of Kenny Everett,
Well,
and I couldn't think of anyone less scary than Kenny Everett.
do you know
Um,
what? I totally agree with you with that one. It is absolutely. I've often thought that, and man, it's the mannerisms the same. It's not dissimilar. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. But he's that character because he is scary. But when he chases after people, he runs in this sort of lope,
yeah,
and he does, he falls over and he sort of crashes into a
yeah,
few bins, and um, but he's like you said, he's having such a good time. He
yeah,
just hops up and like carries on, sort of laughing, doesn't he? He's really enjoying it. He's having the time of his life.
yeah. I think the
Or death.
scariest bits are the bits actually you don't see him in.
Yeah,
So where he's invisible to the other characters and he's
yeah,
mutilating someone, and the people are acting it really well. Those bits are genuinely very scary.
yeah,
But actually, when he's actually on camera, I think actually some of the fear goes out, because I think when you're
yeah,
looking at I guess when the bits, especially like I think in the first bit with Tina where she dies, and you're basically watching it through the eyes of Rod, her
yeah,
boyfriend, who can see what's going on but can't understand it and can't
yeah,
help her. I know he gets kind of hit, but he's seen it as he's seen it. He's just seen her kind of like being mutilated in front of his eyes by
yeah,
apparently nothing and not being able to do a thing about it. So we kind of watch
yeah,
it through his eyes, and that is genuinely scary. But yeah, when the bits with Freddy, I'd say not so much, apart from a few jump scares, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's one where he jumps out of I can't remember where it is. He jumps out of somewhere, and that did genuinely make me jump. And it
Yeah.
was quite late by that point, and Emma had fallen asleep. She's not a huge horror fan, so I was sort of on my own, and that was a little bit of Um, but like with that, but if you think like with that scene where he's murdering Tina, like what he would have had to do to get her to spin round would be a
Yeah.
bit like that wrestling move called the helicopter,
Yes.
spinning around like that, and then knock the boyfriend out as well,
Yeah.
and that maybe takes some of the fear out of it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there, but I think I think all the things he does, he's toying, isn't he? He's obviously could be stronger than, especially in the dream world, he can be what he likes, can he? He can be stronger
Yeah,
than anyone, he can be faster. And I think that, that loping run you see him do, I think he's just toying with his prey. I think he's just
yeah,
he's drawing out as long as possible because he's having the time of his life. He doesn't want
yeah.
to have a quick kill. He
No,
wants it
no,
to take ages. So, he probably could run, as fast as a cheetah if he wanted to, but he doesn't
yeah,
want
yeah,
to because he wants to almost like, I don't know if almost like breathe in the fear type thing.
yeah, 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 yeah. Smell the fear.
Okay, cool. All right, and so we come to the crux point again. we haven't found any money, although we've kind of looked around the carpet of the video store. So what are we gonna go home with to watch?
I do like Nightmare. I think it's got a lot to it. I love House with a sort of comedic value, um, but Nightmare scared me a lot more. So I think I'm going to go with Nightmare.
I think I'm gonna have to join you on this one. Although House is one of my favorite films, I think based on the brief and just we could maybe we can talk the guy who runs the video store to maybe slipping in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 as well.
Yeah,
I think and the iconic nature of it, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this guy. And let's take home Freddy
excellent.
and try not to sleep tonight.
Yeah, yeah. But remember, he could be completely innocent. We don't know.
He could be, but that takes a little bit of the fear away of Freddy himself, though, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe he's chasing around trying to say, look, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. He never manages to get to that bit because people always kind of freak out and run away from him.
Yeah, people just assume the worst, you know.
Yeah, actually, people are very judgmental. He's physically disfigured. It's
Yeah,
actually, probably a good film for inclusion. Actually, kind of demonstrating how kind of what's the right word? How I can't think of the right word. How we discriminate against people who are, are physically disfigured.
a little bit different. I mean, just because you're dead, and come from a dream world, why should that be a problem? Why
Yeah,
should you not be included?
yeah. If Johnny Depp was visiting people in their dreams at that, at the age he was then people would be thinking those were nice dreams as opposed
More
to
than happy. More
yeah.
than
So
happy.
so definitely reflecting something at the time. Okay, we'll do that one then. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for your time, Guy. I've really
Thanks,
enjoyed
mate.
this as always. I think we're going to come back for episode 3.
Excellent.
Which isn't going to be. I can't remember what episode 3 of Star Wars was, to be honest. I
uh,
can't remember what that was. I remember what episode 4 was, but I'm more of a purist on that. I can't remember
yeah.
what episode 3 was. But
Uh,
anyway, it's not that.
no,
It's not that episode. It's going to
no.
be a Christmas special, but more details to follow on that. But at this point, I'm gonna sign off and so we can go stick this video in the video recorder.
I'm going to put my eye back in. It's really caning.
Okay. All right. Cheers, guy. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Take care. Bye.
One, two, God is coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door.